Hi, welcome to the Retirement Railroad 2.0. I'm Steve, and this is Workbench Wednesday, episode 11. And this project will have multiple parts and is a long time coming. So, I have this Cato or Cato bi-level Rock Island commuter car. And I purchased this 4+ years ago in anticipation of reflagging it to the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy. So what I have to do is I have to strip all that red, yellow, and white off of it and repaint it silver to match my other bi-level commuter cars. And of course decal it. And as long as we're in that process, I am going to add passengers to it and a light kit, a Cato light kit. So, and there's a detail kit to it, and we'll just get into it. And first thing we have to do is take it all apart. The glazing or windows are already tinted green, like the CB&Q all were. And so we don't have to worry about that, but we'll strip down the car, take it apart, pull the glazing out of it, get the old red, yellow, and white paint off, prime it, and then paint it silver before we add decals and some detail parts. All right, so with that, hang tight and we'll move on over to the other workbench. So as we look at this Rock Island bi-level cab coach by Cato, we see that before we can get down to stripping and so forth, we have to take a lot of the detail parts off. Now, the shell itself separates from the chassis rather simply, and it leaves the this guard on the chassis. Now we have to take these side markers. There's one on each side. Those have to come off. Of course, the horn has to come off. All the glazing or windows have to come off. This yellow bellows has to come off, and there's a black one on the other side. And the difficulty is in getting to some of these other areas. Since these lights up here and these side marker lights are lit, there's an internal interior behind these glass windows here in the actual cab of this coach. And it's got little seats and everything in it for an engineer, etc. So all that's got to be stripped off, and each piece has to come off in a very specific order. And it was rather difficult to figure out, believe it or not. They come out easily once you figure out what has to come out first. So, and the key was these little side marker lights. I thought they were molded in, but they weren't. And so they have to come off because there's a clear lens in there, and it's one piece that runs all the way across, and you can't slide it enough one direction to get it out if these little detail pieces are not taken off first. So we do that, and then we have what's left. Here's the full picture of the cab coach. Now I have stripped paint off of numerous different pieces of rolling stock, but typically I'm just taking the pad printed markings or paint off. And in this case, that would be the yellow Rock Island and the yellow striping. Okay. So we have a plethora, always like that word, plethora, of different solvents that we can use in an attempt to strip this thing down. Now we got to strip it all the way down to plastic because that red side panels and the white roof, nothing's gonna fall together right if it's not stripped down and then reprimed and painted. So got all these different things available to us. So the first thing I tried that I know works for the pad printing, because I've done it on numerous different manufacturers, including Cato. Some people may remember from the old layout where I stripped off the Amtrak striping off of bi-level commuter cars from Cato like this, utilizing IPA and Q-tips. Worked easily. Okay, so that's where I decided to start. So I've had one of these 12-inch tall jars. They say they're 12-inch, they're not. And filled it with the IPA, 91%. Dumped the shell after it's been stripped down in there, and turned on the Sonic jewelry cleaner. Okay, and it worked amazingly well, stripping off the pad printing, the yellow. All right, and after a whole lot of scrubbing with handy wipes, I got a little bit of the white off the top and some areas off the sides. All right, but that was a lot of work. And so there had to be a better way of doing it. So let's try some mineral spirits, all right, and see what that gets us. Absolutely nothing. All right, scrub and scrub and scrub and scrub and scrub and scrub and nothing. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Let's try some turpentine. And it worked to a certain degree, but I mean that was still a whole lot of scrubbing just to get that little area off. And some of the little side areas. The roof is white on this, so it's still got to be stripped, and you can see a few spots where it has. All right, so let's see what the next solvent entails. Let's try some brake fluid. My buddy CNEI John recommended brake fluid, so hey, why not, right? And bingo, bango, bongo, took it all off. Okay. Now there were some stubborn areas that needed to be addressed, and I got my little dental pick out and ran it around the edges of the door and so forth. And this grill here, I'm not too concerned with. Primer will handle that, and it's going to probably get some panel line blackish added to it anyway. But what I did do, and you can see, I had to scrub and change out handy wipes on a pretty regular basis. Otherwise, all you're doing is smearing the pigment from the paint over the rest of the model. So you don't feel shy. Go ahead and utilize multiple handy wipes as needed. Fold it over and unfold it and refold in different directions, etc., etc., etc. All right. I did take some goof off, and it worked amazingly well to get some of the little detail areas cleaned up. The biggest concern I have in tackling a project like this is melting the plastic, all right, which can eliminate a lot of the detail features, the little rivets, etc. And so I wanted to use this sparing. Likewise, I was not thrilled with the idea of having to use acetone, because acetone has a tendency to melt down certain plastics as well. But I used a goof off, all right, and simply did that. And then you got to make sure before you go any further that you wash it. So I used this little bowl and washed it down with a mixture of Dawn dishwashing liquid, because that cuts through petroleum-based items. All right, it's got the same enzyme they use for cleaning up oil spills built into Dawn dishwashing detergent. So use that, rinsed it off. I gave it another wash back in that jar of IPA, all right, just to clean off any more solvents that may be there, and another Dawn rinse, and then of course rinsed with water and allowed it to dry. All right, and it is all set and ready to go for priming. All right. And I'm looking forward to getting it primed and painted and get the details back on it. Still have to once it's primed, first coat of paint, then I will put a coat of matte finish on it. One of the ends I have to stripe white and red on the cab coach side, the cab side of this coach. And that'll involve some matte finishes between paints and masking and all that kind of stuff. And once it's all done, a final light coat of matte finish before I flag it or decal it. And then there will be another final coat of matte finish. And these are very, very light coats, just enough to separate layers in case I have to go back and strip and do some other things. It helps protect one layer from the next, and actually helps in case you make a mistake. All right, so hang tight. So that's part one of the Rock Island cab coach being reflagged to a CB&Q cab coach, and trials and tribulations of figuring out which solvent worked best. Got that done. No issues, and so stay tuned for part two next week. With that, I want to thank you for joining me here at the Retirement Railroad Workbench Wednesday. I'm Steve, and y'all have a great day. Bye now.